Right, let's get moving towards the Chaos Shrine. Thankfully, we won't have any trouble finding it. It's the only other place we can get to on this continent. Still, I can't help wishing I had the helpful little mini-maps that the Pixel Remaster gives the game. Unfortunately, I just like how the MP system works here. And to be fair, the bosses have more health in this version as well. And I'm pretty sure the regular grunts do as well, so this version of the game is what I decided to LP. And I've already decided to do the Pixel Remasters for 3, 5, and 6, and the PSP version of 4 in the future. Though I'm still debating with myself if I'm going to, at some point, do the Pixel Remaster of 2 or the 3D version of 4 as well. Huh. I don't remember that cave being there. Maybe it's one of the little additions that the PSP version gave us, or maybe I'm just having an iffy memory again. Ah, well, there's no real hurry to the princess. May as well check it out. And if it turns out to be something that is way beyond what I can handle, at the very least I can back away from it with no issues by either walking back out of it casually, or reloading the game since our save wasn't that long ago. Definitely not the shrine we're looking for. Must be one of the locations they added in for the PSP version of the game. Now, on paper, these sort of places add a good amount of content to the game, but in my opinion, it's rather empty content that is made annoyingly difficult and padded out for the sake of making things longer. They do not add to the story in any way. This shrine will unlock once we beat a specific major story boss, and I'm not really inclined to head back here to deal with it when that happens. I might have a clip later on in the game that shows off one of the other added dungeons, but I most definitely won't complete it even for that little example piece. And for the most part, we are going to stick with the stuff from the original release of the game. Considering Square Enix never bothered to have the extra dungeons they added into the PSP version in the other releases of the original Final Fantasy, I'm pretty sure they have the same low opinion of them that I do. I'm not against content being added to a game after the fact, but it has to be thought through to the point where it feels like a smooth addition. The extra shrines were just slapped on for the sake of giving more content. They do not really feel like they fit into the world, and if you complete them, then you're definitely gonna have way too much power as you continue on through the actual story. Now, I'm not sure if as a whole I'm gonna end up being over or under leveled over the course of this game, but going through the side dungeons is most definitely gonna over level us for the main stuff to the point where it's not gonna feel in any way challenging. And I'd rather my main fun be in the main story of the game, not the side content. Especially not side content that didn't exist in any way, shape, or form in the game's original release, and that following releases did not bother touching. As a side note, a lot of missed blows in that random encounter, that's for sure. There we go, another patch of random monsters destroyed. I'm not too sure what my general fast-forwarding policy is going to be in this game, or future turn-based role players. Definitely not the best way to convey that the characters have gotten stronger with their level-ups. It's actually pretty funny, some of the things that they were willing to change for the PSP release, and what things they kept pretty much the same. The sprite artwork is good. The environments are nice enough. I certainly appreciate the mist effect as we're walking through here. I also liked the bits of dirt dropping at random intervals when we were in the cave. And again, the MP magic system is the main reason I'm playing this version of the game. Though I'm sure Tyson doesn't appreciate that many of the regular enemies and bosses are tougher than other releases of the game. Son of a bitch, 2 men down and we aren't even at the first boss yet. Still, I appreciate that the heroes who have to save the world have to go through some struggles before they get there. Narratively speaking, of course, it's not going to be a walk in the park for some inexperienced bozos to deal with monsters like this and then follow it up with beating a renowned knight. If it was going to be that easy, then there's not much excuse for why the Cornelian soldiers couldn't have gotten this job done themselves. And since there's not really much of a story in this game, it's a bare bones save the world, here's some tools to do it sort of thing. It's nice to have some things happen where the player can make their own stories within the experience to some degree or another. I certainly know that Tyson and Wesker are probably feeling embarrassed as hell that the team had to retreat all the way back to town after thinking they'd get the job done in a single swift run. And I'm sure Morn is feeling guilty as well, because she was saving up on magic points and didn't actually do any healing like she should have done as we were going through that dungeon. Not really sure what Boromir was thinking, other than we need to get the rest of the team back on their feet. I'm also not too sure who in my mind is the team leader of this crew. I'm kind of mentally going back and forth between Wesker or Boromir. It'll be easier to rescue her if you let us into the church, ma'am. Bloody hell, some of the paths that these NPCs go through are inconvenient as hell. Do those two little angels get any of the money we just spent here? Or does it all go to constantly replacing the always burning candles? And considering there's an organ sitting there in the corner, does anyone actually come to play it, and what kind of income do they get for that? And does the local congregation get to sit, or do you do the entire service standing? Do you bring in folding chairs or something? I know those are just random questions that are springing out of my mind as we do our first revivals of the game, but it felt worth asking for some reason. Regardless, I'm hoping we won't have to use the services of the church all that often in this game. It's incredibly annoying that they only put our revived teammates on 1 HP, which is just asking for the next fight to take them down again before they get the chance to move. Not to mention, it gets more expensive the higher level our characters are. So, we would need to spend a little more money to rest up and actually heal, but if we did that without going to the church, then Wesker and Tyson would still be out of it, while Morn and Boromir would be the only ones healing. It's an inconvenience that exists in all the versions of Final Fantasy I. It's pretty much considered a core element of the game. Again, this was essentially the first ever JRPG. They were coming up with a lot of these things from scratch. From the user interface to the situations we would run into, to the pacing of the events, all of it was in the blind. This game has plenty of excuses for being clunky in a lot of ways. Hello there, Garland. Sorry we didn't come to see you sooner. I wanted to see if there was anything to grab in this early dungeon and kinda paid for that. There's nothing else in this room other than Garland, the princess, and some random bats, so let's get it on. Oh, just 4 destined heroes who are a little disappointed you pulled this crap just for the sake of taking over the kingdom. Apparently, all those years of service and all that respect you built up meant absolutely nothing to you. You'll find that knocking us down doesn't really stop us, it just makes us take things more seriously. Yeah, Wesker's the most fragile of us, so we may as well give him some extra protection at the start here. And let's see how the Fallen Knight likes a taste of lightning. Not really inclined to use Protect on anyone else, we'll save the rest of our MP on Mourn for the actual healing. And apparently Fire does approximately as much damage as Lightning did. Don't think he's got any resistances or weaknesses here, but I could have sworn wearing so much metal would make Lightning have a bit more bite. Well, that felt abrupt, but then pretty much all victories in games like this end up feeling out of nowhere, since there's nothing to really track how much health the enemy has. Anyway, there we go. Garland himself was no real trouble. I just got unlucky with the random encounters as we were exploring the rest of the Chaos Shrine. Let's save the thanks for when you get back home. How many people ever tried to take him on 4-on-1? I'm sure he was a dangerous opponent, but he was just one guy in a metal suit. Not anything superhuman, that comes later in the game. Wait, we're seriously just teleporting back to the castle throne room? No need to walk all the way over here from the Chaos Shrine? It's not like it would have been that long of a commute, and I don't think that tends to happen all that often in the entire franchise. Go ahead, sir. Huh. Not the kind of wording I would expect from a prophecy. Why mention what happens if the heroes fail instead of when they succeed? Did the person making the prophecy feel like making things sound too optimistic would just send the heroes to their deaths or something? Again, I'm pretty sure you had more reasons to want to repair that bridge than just fulfilling a promise to the heroes that just saved your daughter. We only just met and we're not gonna interact much if at all after this. I'm also pretty sure she isn't the only one rooting for us to get the job done. Not when the entire world is having trouble and we're the chosen ones. Thanks for the key item, but it's gonna be quite a while before we have to use it. Here's hoping our bag doesn't become too full at some point. Though I somehow doubt that will be an issue with the way I'm gonna be selling things and refraining from buying others. We'll do what we can here, but as this starting town, there's not gonna be especially high-end gear. And it's not like the shops will ever upgrade themselves as we keep moving forward, so prepping at Cornelia, very limited. Hell, not everyone has updated dialogue after we saved the princess, though enough people do that it's worth checking with everyone. Shame that the guards just shifted what their repeating dialogue is, instead of gaining individual lines, but again, it's a very old game. Well, here's hoping your job is nice and boring while the heroes deal with the majority of the danger. Not that we know how the carts around here stack up to the local monster population, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't take long for these guys to start feeling overwhelmed. If some enemies later in the game decide to come to Cornelia and wreck it, I doubt the guards would last long at all. But hey, this game was made before the cliché of certain towns being destroyed. And it's not like we've got any characters who are attached to the location or any of the people here. It's probably not anything really worth worrying about, just another random thought. Then we were certainly given a nice gift that we'll certainly try to hold on to. Why do I get the feeling that Tyson knows how to play the flute? And might use it to play some casual tunes whenever the team starts resting at an inn or pitches up camp at night. Just one of those amusing little images that flashed in my brain. You know, sometimes it's the simple thing of people being glad you managed to save someone that helps make a journey feel heartwarming. Considering how many games I've gone through on this channel, where we're explicitly a superhero, it's kind of surprising how few people we've actually saved in those games. It's not really gonna function as a drawbridge. It's not gonna withdraw for any reason. It's just gonna be a static bit of environment that we can travel across. And this cutscene is the only time we're ever gonna see this zoomed-in look on the bridge. After this, we're only ever gonna see it from the zoomed-out traveling the world view. That's a good question, and one that's never going to be answered for you. It's not like the prophecy explicitly mentioned that we'd have to cross this specific bridge, but I suppose since the first of the crystals we have to restore is on, at the other continents, this is an important part of us saving the world just by opening up more of the world for us. But again, there is no real time limit for saving this world, so let's take a bit of a nap in the inn, maybe buy some healing items, so we aren't entirely reliant on Morn's still limited MP pool for our healing purposes, and then we move on. Sudden thought, why is it that the Pixel Remaster removes the bit where you see the party split off and go to bed? Well, okay, they didn't completely remove it, but they have the screen fade to black too early, so you barely see the split off, and when it fades back in, you barely get to see them all coming back together. It just feels like an odd thing to remove. On the other hand, this version decided to add that random guy in a cloak that doesn't say anything for some reason. I have no clue why and no real motivation to try to find out.